Bear Grylls Adventures, the Sea Challenge. Chapter 3, Capleside. Chulu was braced and ready for it. She felt the harness take her weight as she put one foot up into the gunwale, then the other. Now she was standing on the edge of the boat, leaning back over the water. The wind couldn't tip the boat over because of her wave, and her wave couldn't pull the boat too far in the other direction because of the wind. The dinghy was balanced. They zoomed across the lake with the tiller. Tolo whooped in glee as she trapezoid out even further. This was the best feeling ever. Where do we go? 我们是走这边吗？
不是啊，就是这样子啊。
They're getting close to the far shore and running out of lake.
这都没念。
When spray was flying from the bow and the water was zipping past right beneath you, it felt like you were doing 1,000,000 miles per hour. They're getting close to the far shore and running out of lake. Get ready to go about, Lily said. She pushed the tiller and the boat began to turn. Lily quickly swung herself around the mast as she went. She felt something uncomfortable rubbing against her. Of course, the compass. There's no chance to do anything about it. She needs to trapezoid straight out again, and the dinghy started to pick up speed toward the boathouse. All the other boats, all the other boats were in the water now. A couple had their sails up and they were near the shore. The instructor were waving at Cholo and Lily to rejoin the others. Hey, let's have some fun, Lily said without waiting for a reply. She changed course towards a row of floating orange buoys the size of footballs. Cholo independently knew what Lily meant. They were going to slalom, zigzagging back and forth between each buoy. She smiled. We'll show them how it's done. Cholo braced herself. The dinghy shot between the first two buoys, and Lily independently pushed the tiller across. The boat swung around and aimed for the gap between the next two boys, now leaning the other way. She tried to slide her finger down between the harness and her shirt. Maybe she could just adjust the compass a little if she loosened her life jacket. She took off the tape and then, "Look out!" Lily shouted suddenly. One of the other boats was heading right at them. Cholo hadn't seen it because the sail was in the way. Lily had to push the tiller right over to get out of the boat's way. The boom swung around with a loud thwack, and a Jingly leaned over on Cholo's side. She tried to pull herself up, but her hand was stuck into her pocket. At the last moment, she managed to yank her hand out.
这里都没练，你不要老是跳着练啊。
我要练呀。
好练吗？
我要练。
练吧，练吧。
我都已经练了。我已经练了。At the last moment, she managed to yank her hand out, still clutching the compass. Then, splash! The Jingly had gone all the way over. She felt herself hit the surface of the lake, and water closed over her face. Cholo sputtered in annoyance as she surfaced and released the harness from its wire. The life jacket lifted her up so that she floated with her head and shoulder out of the water. She couldn't touch the bottom of her with her feet. Cholo shook her head to clear the water so that she could see her way back to the boat. Then splash again. A wall of water hit her from the behind and bowled her over. Her body twisted and spun in the middle of a million white bubbles. Her loose life jacket pulled free. And yuck, her mouth was open and the water tasted disgusting.
吓死我了！
Cholo bumped into something soiled. The Jingly must have rated itself to be leveled again. Thank goodness. She could pull herself up before she went flying again. Still blinded by the water in her eyes, she swung herself back into the boat and clambered to her feet. She watched as her life jacket floated away on the waves. Like the same time, she thought, waves? How could there be waves like that on the lake? And that revolting taste in her mouth, it was salt. The water in the lake that ought to be fresh. Cholo shook her head again, then opened her eye. The tree that surrounded the lake had gone. 50 meters away, a long beach of white sand gleamed beneath a tropical sun and stretched as far as you could see in the either direction. Lily! Lily, she started to say in surprise. Then she looked down. She wasn't in the jingly. It was a much larger boat. A yacht, white water rushed around her knees. We're sinking, a man's voice shouted. Cholo wiped her head around in the cockpit. At the back of the yacht, a man was rapidly pulling at a rope with one hand as he held the steering wheel with the other. Time to abandon the ship, he called as the water swirled around his feet. Before we go down with this thing. Thanks for watching. Bye!